some would say he's not even one of the best quarterbacks. He had a great, season in Minnesota. He went to Denver, didn't work out. They moved on, from him, and now he's in Washington trying to get another starting role. And you have a guy in Dwayne Haskins who is trying to prove himself as well, just like Case is, and coming out of the Ohio State University, and which I'm still amazed at the career he had at Ohio State and what the numbers that he put up coming out of there. You would think he only played like 6 or 7 games in his career in college, and then it's all these question marks. That's how I feel that they are treating Dwayne Haskins, at this point. He has a lot to learn. I don't think he's going to start, not week 1. He could come in during the middle of the season if the Washington football team decides to, but if they end up not winning games as they anticipated, he could step in because he is the future. He's a first-round draft pick. Of course, they are wanting him in there at some point, but I don't think they want him right away. We saw Baker Mayfield. He went number 1 overall last year, and they didn't put him in right away. The way that the season played out, he got to play, and then he continued to play. And now, you have these high expectations from Baker Mayfield. That could possibly happen with Dwayne Haskins as well. So I know he wants to start from day 1, but I think the good thing is that if he doesn't and he sits, watches, learn, and get better from the sideline at that point, and then put him into the game. Because I do think eventually he's going to overtake Case Keenum and be the quarterback, of this team. Alex Smith, more than anything, getting him back so he can go and play for another team. He knows his days are done playing for Washington, so he is just trying to find somewhere else to go. But for Trent Williams has decided not to show up for camp as well. You do need to get him in. He's their best offensive lineman. You got a running back questions with Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is not going anywhere. Adrian Peterson is going to probably be the new Darrell Green for Washington. I mean, Darrell Green I think he was in his 40s, still playing corner if I remember correctly, and he's still running 4.3, 4.4 40, at that point. So Adrian Peterson is defying the odds. He is not going to relinquish the role of starting running back just because Darius is younger. Darius is going to have to come in and take this. He's got his own challenges from coming off from an ACL injury himself that happened to him in the preseason last year. So a lot of question marks at the running back position. You got question marks even on the defensive side. They just released Mason Foster. You sign a guy in Landon Collins who comes over from the Giants. And what is the makeup going to be this team? Is Jay Gruden's job safe at this point? And I remember Jay Gruden, people were talking about the possibility of him being on Hard Knocks. And, he threw that and he redirected it and to his brother in Oakland, which he should have. He was completely right for that. The Oakland Raiders are going to be golden probably on Hard Knocks. But I think the biggest thing is he didn't want to highlight and have any additional pressure on what he already has on him for that team. So they have not won the games that, Washington fans are used to, and he's got to get something done. So deflect that, try and focus on the team. You're trying to get the quarterback right and see what happens during the season. So, but I did, and I'm sorry, I didn't even go back, to my picks as far as like wins. So I think the Dallas Cowboys will go 10-6. I forgot to say that. So I think they'll still be a double-digit win team. For Washington, I'm going to flip that and say they go 6-10 for this season. This will still be a building process. This will still be guys learning on the job. It could cost Jay Gruden his job, and then some other coach come in and inherit these players. But we don't want to wish that upon anyone at this point because he has the job, so he has a chance, to prove the naysayers wrong. But Washington, I got finishing 6-10. So you have a team now in the New York Giants, and the Giants, question marks all over the place. Obviously, they have put a focus on their offensive line. You got Saquon, coming into his second year, so no one is really worried about that. But on the outside, people may, question that. You lose a guy or you trade a guy. I shouldn't even say lose, but you trade a guy in Odell Beckham, his talent, and now you're looking at doing something by committee. You got guys. I love Golden Tate. That's my guy. When he was in Detroit, and Sterling Shepard, you're going to want him to step up. Maybe they're looking at him as their next little, maybe mini Juju Smith-Schuster, if you will. And you got a tight end in Evan Ingram who put up some decent numbers in his rookie year, but a lot of that too, you may, remember that guys got injured. So Eli had someone that he had to throw the ball to someone. And speaking of Eli, he has already been ruled being the starter week one. And here's what I don't get, about why we even have a conversation about Daniel Jones possibly starting day one. There was no way Daniel Jones was going to start day one. The only way was that if Eli fell completely off a cliff, and when I say a cliff, I'm talking about the Grand Canyon cliff. That would be the only way that Eli would be not starting for the New York Giants at this point. You do not want to take, again, your 6th overall pick, put him in the fire right away in a division like the NFC East, where they're going to get after you. They would ruin this kid before he even get a chance to me, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. If you were going to do that, move on from Eli, let him go somewhere else, and then bring him in and play. Because if Eli is starting, he's not going to be thinking, well, this is just, a Kurt Warner situation like with him, where Kurt Warner played like half of the season, and then they put Eli in. He's not looking at it like that. Now, it could be that situation if Eli is just horrible, but I don't think he is. Even a bad Eli, I think, is even better than a Daniel Jones, So defense, I did mention that. Landon Collins left. He went to Washington. They replaced him with Jabril Peppers. They draft DeAndre Baker out of Georgia at the corner spot. He's going to be fighting for a starting corner spot. It's not locked in. He could be the third corner, or it could be a part of a rotation of 4 corners at this point. So this team is again, Dave Gettleman, GM of the New York Giants, is saying that, hey, we're still going to be winning games. Yeah, just by rebuilding. I just firmly believe they still are rebuilding at this point, and them being the football giants of New York, I think they will be, oh man, I don't want to be on the fence here. I don't want to, because I was going to go 6-10, but I don't want them to be 6-10 with Washington. I'll say 7-9. They'll finish one game ahead of Washington and be in the division at 7-9. In the Wait a Minute Show chat room, Booster says that Washington will surprise you, and he says 10-6. So he's flipping that 6-10 that I put down for Washington and saying 10-6. So I just don't see 10 wins coming from Washington at this point, Booster. With Case, because Case Keenum, he is going to be Case Keenum. He is just like Ryan Fitzpatrick and some other quarterbacks. He is not someone that figure out, the cheat code or something, and now, everything has been unlocked and he gets everything and he's turned into this super quarterback. He is a good quarterback, and he is a quarterback you can depend on, but to me, he is not a guy that's going to get you to double-digit wins. He had a very good season in Minnesota. I'm not doubting that or knocking him for that. It is what it is. But coming into this season, I see them as a 6-10, especially if Dwayne Haskins get into the mix. 6-10. Dwayne Haskins get in late, just like Baker, win some games. 6-10. So I'm going to stay with that. But I get it, Booster. That's your team. So you always got to believe. You got to believe. Now, last team, on here, we already talked about the Giants. We talked about Washington. We talked about Dallas. Is the Philadelphia Eagles. These Philadelphia Eagles are very interesting because obviously you got Carson Wentz coming off an injury. Nick Foles is not there anymore. So it's funny as it sounds. It's Carson Wentz's team, and we all know that it's always been Carson Wentz's team. But with Nick Foles, it was just like Nick Foles was just like that cousin that comes into town or a family member that comes into town, every so often, and they bring gifts and everyone gets excited, and when they're there, you just like, everyone's excited about it except for the other uncle or the other cousin or other family member that might be in there because they're kind of stealing the shine. And to me, that is gone. He doesn't have to worry about that. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder. I know people are talking about the injury. I think, that could be just, kind of some freak things because with the ACL injury, when he was diving into the end zone for a touchdown, that's, to me, that's just a freak injury that he sustained. So I remember another quarterback, just happened to be my favorite team, Matthew Stafford. He had early injury problems early in his career, and then it stopped happening. It was just freak accidents. So he's been one of the healthiest quarterbacks in the league, even playing hurt. And I think that will be Carson Wentz. They get a guy in Deshaun Jackson, so that's their deep threat. You got 15,000 running backs. You got Darren Sproles, Jordan Howard, Clement. You drafted Miles Sanders. So you got a plethora of running backs to figure out what you're going to do in your backfield. You still got Zach Ertz. You got Nelson Aguilar and Alvin. No, I'm about to say Alvin Gentry. Why am I drawing a blank? Played for the Bears and then came over to the Eagles. Alshon Jeffries, that's what I'm trying to say. Alshon Jeffries is also on this team as well. So I think the Eagles will make another run. I think they're going to contend with the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to say at the end of the regular season, when it's all said and done, they will be in a heated battle all the way up through probably week 16, 17 with the Cowboys, and I say the Philadelphia Eagles will be 11-5, so they'll be one game ahead of the Dallas Cowboys. So those are my picks and analysis, of the team. We'll get into the AFC South a little bit later on, but let me go back to the Wait a Minute Show chat room. Mocha Bella said, you heard that, Boosa. The Giants will be ahead of your team. So she's sending a little shade Boosa way. And then Boosa comes back, though, and says, yes, Mocha, I respect Jelani, but I don't agree. I'm pushing it. Yeah, you are pushing it, Boosa. You are pushing it to the limit, Rick Ross style, okay? 10-6? 10-6? I don't know about that, but you got to believe. And I've been telling people to, and maybe I shouldn't say this out in public, but I guess I don't care. I've been telling people that the Lions is going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, this year. You got to believe. You got to. If you don't, who else will? That's all I'm saying. Right, Lil Pen?
Indeed.
Yeah, you've been quiet over there, Lil Pen. So let's take a break, and then we'll come back from the break, and then we'll touch on some NBA talk. Steve Kerr is out there running in his mouth. What is he saying about Anthony Davis? We'll talk about that and more when